5 minutes later, here comes Gordon Ramsay with the piece of salmon. It's on the cutting board, hand down, salmon disappears. And we were finding salmon in that kitchen and probably in our shirts and our hair and all that for days after. I waited my whole life to have Gordon Ramsay yell at me.
I am here with the one and only Chef Adam, a Midwest legend himself. Chef Adam, thanks for being on the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Midwest legend. That's a big line to live up to.
But you're doing it, and we
We're
appreciate it. And I know the funny thing is when we bring in, and I think this is a Midwest thing, we bring folks in, we're like, hey, you're a Midwest legend. And everybody that I've met is always very humble and like, well, I appreciate that, but I don't call myself a Midwest legend.
No, of course not. Hey, I might consider later you'll be like, hey, maybe I am the Midwest legend. I deserve the spot, but I appreciate you having me here.
Yeah, well, we're going to give you a Midwest legend shirt that you can wear proudly too, and you can also say that I made you wear it if you need to.
That's fine. Let's do it.
All right, man. Thank you very much. Let's get into it. Obviously, thanks for being here. So the purpose of this podcast is we're telling stories about Midwest legends, not only folks, but also stories that they have heard about things in the Midwest, right?
Sure.
And so clearly, you're a Midwest legend yourself.
I will not be self-proclaimed, but thank you for giving me that title and having me here today.
Happy to do it. Happy to do it. I know that you have the restaurant, which is awesome, but what are the other things that you're doing right now too?
Yeah, so obviously Egg and Flour is just the day-to-day stuff, but I have a great team that makes it easy for me to, do TV shows. And the other part of my business and my culinary skills is I do private chefing. So everything from the person that wants me once a year for a special occasion to I have clients that will hire me 6 or 7 times in a year, whether it's family get-togethers, girls or guys night where they have their friends over, to big parties, to large parties. I was fortunate to do the private Bob Uecker Memorial. That was for 900 people, and I had to cook for them.
Wow.
To different corporate things like that. I've gone to Donald Driver's house in Dallas, which isn't in the Midwest, but he's a Midwest legend and stuff like that. And I get to cook for different celebrities. A lot of Brewers players. Christian Yelich is a good friend, and his brother Colin, and cooking for his family a lot. I still have to get to Giannis. We're working on cooking a meal for him. I know he has his own private chef, so that might be a little bit more difficult. But yeah, cooking in people's homes all the time. And doing private chef services. People can reach out to me and, they can say, hey, we want to cook for 10 to 12 people, or we want to have a party of 40 to 100 to whatever. I usually don't say no to anything. So that keeps me busy along with the TV chef work and stuff like that. And the last thing is I right now I have my own charity foundation. So it's called Cooking for Kids.
Okay, very cool.
So still has food, still around that, but we actually, I have a real 501c3, Cooking for Kids, that we raise money, and all the money goes directly to the Children's Wisconsin.
Dude, so that's awesome.
Keeping it Midwest with the charity and the cooking, and I stay busy and doing stuff like this and meeting cool people and getting out there, and also getting to go to other cities and whatnot and share the Midwest love and food.
Yeah, and you've been doing a good job, and I think that's pretty awesome when someone can hire you for an event. Not only have you cooked on TV and cooked in front of some of the biggest celebrities like Gordon Ramsay, but you're also cooking for the pro athletes. So
for sure.
For the opportunity to get, you to cook privately for someone has to be an awesome experience. I mean,
it's really fun. I've been in, I've been in huge homes I didn't even know existed, or they give you the address and you're coming down the driveway and it takes 5 minutes till you actually see the house. But that's not all that I do. Sure. If someone wants to reach out, I have a website. It's literally just chefadampawlak.com. Super easy.
Perfect.
And they can reach out, and I'll do I've cooked in more chill houses, we'll say.
Yeah.
A little bit less into it, that they might not have boat houses and live on a lake or 10 cars or whatever, but I'm okay with that. Every range is what I do when it comes to the private cooking.
Everybody appreciates some good food, and you get someone like Chef Adam and cooking, and
Yeah, it's a whole experience.
Yeah.
You can come up and help cook, and you can learn. And it's not like I say, hey, leave me alone. I'm in the kitchen doing your food. I want people there, and I want to give tips and tricks, and that's part of the experience. And we bring bartenders, or we bring other experiences along with that when I do those events. So.
Well, I would feel that you're able to deal with the stress and the busyness and the noise if you've been able to deal with Chef Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah, I mean, cooking for Gordon Ramsay and dealing with that for like a month, like people don't even realize I was out there for a long time, and then cooking against Bobby Flay and doing Cutthroat Kitchen, cooking with a microwave and cooking with time constraints and people sabotaging you. I can handle going to a house and cooking in someone else's kitchen.
Oh, very nice, man. It's good to know all that. I mean, you're a busy guy. You got a lot of cool things going on. You're helping out kids and you're cooking for people and you got your restaurant. So
yeah,
awesome, man.
Always staying busy.
My understanding is you were born in the Midwest in Wisconsin,
yeah,
right?
Yep, Bayview, right in Milwaukee here, born and raised. And I've gone to other cities and, cooked or hung out or whatever, but I've always lived here. This is my home base, and I probably will always have some sort of a home, apartment, whatever, forever, just to be here.
Yeah, and I think like that's the cool thing is that you are like quintessential Wisconsin or Midwest guy, but you've got the experiences, in other areas. And then on top of that, you've been on TV as well, right? So,
well, in my profession, it's very important that I go to other cities and I travel the world or eat at different places. I can't just be so wrapped into what's going here, but it's been great to watch the city, evolve and change and different things come and go. But yeah, the TV shows have definitely helped, and that has been something that's really fun for me. I don't just do it for advertisement of myself or the restaurant or just do it to be on TV.
Yeah.
But I think it's a lot of fun to do that. You don't get a lot of opportunities to compete and compete in front of millions of people and have something that I can watch forever. Every now and then I might be somewhere or be at home and Hell's Kitchen will show up or the Bobby Flay episode or whatever, all these shows. I've done 4 now. So there's a good chance you can find me on your streaming platforms.
I agree. I think too, have you noticed, obviously in the shows you're on, it's a competitive atmosphere to some extent. There's some pressures and there's some strong personalities probably, right?
Yeah, definitely. That's like half of it.
Did you feel like, not to stereotype Midwest people, but sometimes we're a little bit more, I don't know if it's soft-spoken, because I think you're still like an outgoing person, but maybe into your point originally.
Oh, dude, we're nicer than most of the people they find.
Right.
Definitely for put on TV. We don't have to beat around that bush.
All
but
right, dude.
I think that's why it was so difficult for Food Network and TV shows and all that crazy stuff to find people from Midwest, minus Chicago people, because they're crazy and angry all the time. So, but to finding people that, have that outgoing personality, not just in a dive bar at 1 a.m, clanking beers. But I feel like, you need to have some sort of an identity, or at least, have that confidence to be on TV and then to have a personality to back up the good cooking and the skills and stuff like that. Yeah. But we're definitely into that market now, and it's definitely showing that we have people that deserve and belong on TV or cooking shows or any kind of show.
Well, I think you're a part of that too, is like kind of representing the Midwest, has people here that can do it and do it well.
I say the OG TV chef.
Yes.
I filmed that show now. We're going on 6 years ago, 6.5 years that the show was filmed.
Yep.
Takes a little bit, obviously, editing and all that people know how that works. And then, about 5 or 4.5 years now since it came out. So I try to get on a show and try to cook and compete at least once a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the goal.
So, what got you back into food, into cooking originally?
Yeah, so born and raised in Milwaukee. Not so much now, but then in my time when I was born, Milwaukee was a big Italian city. I say Italian, Irish, whatever. And I'm 75% Sicilian, and my family is all about food, all about cooking. Nice. My older brother, Alex, cooks as well. He's actually the manager of my restaurant, but he went to culinary school.
Okay.
And he was around food. And my mom, Rosalie, she's a great home cook. And I always say my dad, Mike, he's really good at eating and giving suggestions to what he wanted all of us to cook all the time. But, cooking sounds cliche, but, the grandmas and the aunts in the kitchen cooking and having crazy recipes that, you want to learn and you want to know what they're doing. And some people might, want to go play in the living room or watch TV. But for me, it was nice to be able to know what they were doing. And, I might not have been on the stool, like stirring a pot of sauce or something, but I was definitely at the dinner table and eating weird things. And for me, I eat everything. I try everything. So I think that really started it. And my first job was in a pizzeria making pizza, at 14 years old. And I've never had a job that wasn't in a restaurant.
Well, and too, like, so it sounds like you kind of have that Italian background a little bit, right?
Yep.
Is that so? Growing up in Milwaukee, clearly we've got like the Midwest is a unique. Sometimes maybe some people I enjoy, but a bland palate. Like obviously you're
Sure, more basic.
yeah, basic. Yeah. So when you were getting, more and more into kind of doing your thing, was it of looking at a combination of kind of that Italian heritage and what you learned through your family along with like what we see in the Midwest? Or did you infuse the Midwest, or did those things come together?
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Midwest food, and I love the food that, the burgers, the cheese curds, all that kind of stuff. Like that's classic. That's heartwarming. That gets you all fuzzy inside. But when you're a chef and you're cooking at different restaurants, you're cooking for different guests and experiences, you can't always do the same thing all the time, right? And we have a million burger restaurants, and we have all these different, bar and grills and things like that, which is great. But it's also important to bring other cultures and other kind of food around and show people that there's something out there that's different and definitely beautiful and tasty and good. And we know the Italian culture and the Italian food has to be ranking at least in the top 5 for probably most lovable cuisine outside of what people are used to, or Americana or whatever. But I think it's important to have those skills, and for chefs especially that want to branch out and do other things, they need to have a good repertoire and have a good range of what they're cooking. I always see it's either a good range or it's someone that's really good at just one thing, making pizza or making dough, or really they work at steakhouses or whatever. So I feel like I fall more into the range aspect, where I like to cook other cuisines, I like other techniques and do that. But for some reason, it always falls back to the Italian food, and that's where I have fun and I like the most comfortable with, obviously.
Well, and as a fan, like I think one of the things in many cultures, but just Midwest, and especially like you're talking about family events, and then growing up with that cuisine, that Italian cuisine, and all the things that the joys that it brought you, experiences, and kind of right, sharing those with others.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, no matter what recipe or cuisine it is, there's so many different ways to interpret it. Or someone says, my mom makes the best this, or, I make the best that, or whatever. And it's really not about that. It's really about just sharing your experiences and your stuff. And as long as it tastes good and it looks beautiful, I think that check marks everything that you need for a good meal.
When I think of like get-togethers when I was a kid, I'm guessing the food selection at your get-togethers were probably a little bit better because of the background you guys had.
It's a little crazy. So like I can give you like Easter Sunday, Italian's very religious, whatever, but like Easter Sunday or like Christmas, we'll say, is like the immediate family for Christmas, right, would come at like 11 or 12.
Okay.
And there was a giant table and a couple kids' tables, whatever, but they were talking about 12 o'clock. They go to church, and then you come there, and it's a table full of everything: Italian sausages and spadini, which is rolled breadcrumb beef, and big bowls of pasta, then like your classic ham or your turkey or something like that to kind of throw it in there, and food everywhere. And that was where we sent it around. And when the food was done, then they bring out the desserts, and they have the cookie trays and the different stuff and the coffees going and all that. And then after that, it's like playing cards or hanging out and talking or figuring out what's going on the rest of the night. And while that's happening, while you're kind of relaxing, getting over that feast, they're already working on dinner, because that was like the immediate family. That was probably about 12 to 17 of us, big table. But then we've always had a party at, guests start showing at 5, and we're talking about friends and like more distant relatives and cousins and stuff. And they're already cooking and getting ready for that. So as that table gets flipped, a new tablecloth, flowers, all the stuff goes down. Now you're getting like dips and chips and spreads and crazy appetizers and stuff like that, while still having maybe another, a prime rib in the oven or something, or you have like Italian sausages and the sauce going, and they're getting ready to feed another 40 or 50 people after that. And then it's just Tupperware containers everywhere around the house.
Well, I was gonna say that's kind
of
so
that's like 2 giant meals, and we're talking about 4 hours from each other, and we're in a small house. I mean, we have a house on Jackson and Pleasant there in close to Water Street, downtown Hawaii. And it's been in our family, I think, for 110 years. And we've celebrated Christmas there for every single year. The family would come together, and we keep that tradition alive. But that's what we try to do.
You fitting everybody, not only making all those massive meals, but fitting everybody in there.
Oh yeah, definitely. A little East Side house, everyone would go to the basement and do that, and there's people upstairs and there's people cooking, and it's just. I should probably wear a GoPro. Maybe I'll do that this year and just show that experience of what the true Italian, busy, loud, chaotic, yelling holiday is.
And that's like the Midwest or even the Milwaukee Italian, because your family, like you said, over 100 years been in that house,
right? House, yeah.
Doing the same thing, bringing those feasts, and that's pretty cool. I really love the family aspect, and then you guys obviously elevated the food game there. So.
Oh yeah, of course, and don't get me wrong, they definitely asked me to maybe bring some or help out, but now they know holidays are the only days that I do not cook. I will cook the day before, the day after, but holidays, I like to eat other people's food, especially, the families, it's classic food when your mom makes it or your aunt or something, or if it comes in a flour casserole dish, it's going to taste better.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the thing. One of the things with this is like we're asking about Midwest legends, and it sounds like you might have a whole bunch of them, but every family like has those kind of legends in the family. It could grandpa, aunt, uncle, whomever. Is there somebody who just sticks out in your mind, like, and not downplaying anybody else because you might have a ton, but like somebody that's just like that person is just
Midwest
been a legend.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's actually my cousin's husband, and I had to think about this a little bit. I wasn't going to do cliche. I don't have the very, very classic Midwest, but my cousin's husband, Eric Walcher, who is a dear friend of mine, we hang out. I don't get to see him a lot, but he's suburban. But it came to mind where it's like the big truck, the blue collar, the beer drinking, the country music. And I just, for some reason, we're so different, but we're so the same, and we get along, and I love seeing them. And at family gatherings and stuff, we just gravitate to each other.
Right.
And I don't see anyone else in my family because I'm just too busy hanging out with him. But that's my shout out to Eric, and just literally the aura of the Midwest, and so cheery and fun and telling jokes, but also that beer drinker, talking crap to the family or whoever. It's just that was someone that popped up, and that's as real as an answer I can give for that.
Well, that's good too, and I like how you said he's telling jokes, because that's the person often you're trying to, when you're at one of the get-togethers talking to everybody, but there's a person that you gravitate to because you like them and whatever, not that you don't like anybody else, but you really like that person. But then they have that, whether it's storytelling or jokes and things. And
of course, got to keep it light.
Yeah.
My family's pretty fun. Just as a whole, you could talk to anyone that's at the party and have a good conversation or stories. But Eric, I call him my cousin. It works now. He's great. He's so funny.
It sounds awesome. Yeah, you have to. One of the lawyers comes from my office. Big Italian family too, Anthony. You have to meet him sometime. You guys are probably
and I mean, it's funny because obviously I don't have the jet black hair, and the olive skin, wearing a tracksuit or anything. But my mom's last name is Gazana.
Okay.
The other name on my dad's side is Sheffalu.
Okay.
So, I mean, if I would have taken either one of those names, no one would have questioned it, but I can't do that to my dad. He would disown me. Mike would be mad if I didn't use Pawlak, which is Polish, but that's the funny thing about that is everyone always questions that. So
yeah, it makes sense. You got an awesome family. When you think about your childhood, because obviously you grew up in Milwaukee, your family's been Wisconsin residents for a long time. What do you think, do you have the quintessential Midwest memory sometime when you're, as just when you think about it, you're like, that's super Midwest?
Yeah, this is a really funny one, I think, is that popped in my head. That it's just I take my first answers that come because I feel like they're the most real. And this one just so happens to be funny, is I would say my childhood Midwest story that everyone can kind of resonate with is driving up and seeing the Wisconsin Dells for the very first time as a kid, because we were not a Disney World, Disneyland family, a Florida, once a year family. We were Wisconsin Dells and maybe Six Flags or something like that, but going up to Wisconsin Dells and just seeing a whole new city, and it's a little, I call it the mini Wisconsin Vegas.
Yep.
So seeing that and just being so excited, and there's the roller coasters going and all the theme parks and stuff. Yeah. And really now that I look at it as an adult, I'm like, wow, this is really run down, and but as a kid, you're just in awe. So I remember that's one of my memories of just seeing the Wisconsin Dells for the first time, and seeing Paul Bunyan's. I think we all know that that spot, something like that, where it's just big and over the top, was something really funny for me.
It's funny you say that too, because did anybody ever tell you when you were a kid that hey, this is like the Midwest Las Vegas or the Wisconsin? Because one of my experiences, we didn't go on trips outside. I think I left like Wisconsin like once, right?
Sure, yeah.
So, but I remember going there, and I'd never been to Las Vegas, but I thought the same thing. Like, this is like the Las Vegas, man.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, we would do like the Minocqua trips. My mom's good friend, they used to live up there and do water skiing and all that. But the Wisconsin Dells was kind of fun there. It's just a little bit different where you're like in a whole new city. But that's what I always say. That's the Midwest Las Vegas right there.
When you would go there, would you like go with your cousins and aunts and uncles, or was just like
It was more of a friend thing. I think it was like me and my brother. We got to bring a friend or two or whatever, and maybe another family member would bring their family up there and just like share one of the hotels with like the flamingo fountain or something.
Oh yeah,
like maybe a guy drinking a beer and there's water coming out, and you're like, wow, that's a child's pool right there. But hey, super fun. The haunted houses. Was really a big thing. Or the paintball ranges, go-karts, obviously a classic. All that kind of stuff. So
the Dells is definitely what, especially as a kid, was like a different, like, wow, I didn't know this existed in Wisconsin.
Exactly. Yeah. It's the playground, man. But it's just so funny because it's right there in our backyard almost.
Yeah. I was Charlie and I were talking about the Dells, Charlie Behrens and I, and we were talking about how like when we would go there, we would like pile in different vehicles with cousins and whatever. And my uncle he had like an old Astro van. He would just take out all the rear seats and just throw a bunch of kids in there, and we'd be rolling down.
Just throw a mattress in the back. It's like, hey, we'll get there soon.
You guys do whatever. We're gonna get there. You're like,
and for us, you get jealous when you see like the other families like pulling into Mount Olympus and they're staying in like that's like the MGM Grand of Wisconsin Dells, where we're pulling into the Flamingo Hotel. That's like one level, and the pool is like barely working. That's my memories.
Do you remember? I remember getting sunburnt there too, like super bad. Maybe your family was a little bit more responsible.
Yeah, just being out. My mom probably actually covered me in sunscreen, so I don't know if I got burned, but definitely being out all day in the water parks. That's another big part about it. People love that. I think it's like one of the biggest water parks in the country.
Yeah,
is being out that way, or at least close by.
And back then there was like two big ones. There was like, when I was a kid, there was like Family Land or something, and there was Noah's Ark, and like Noah's Ark was the more expensive one. It was like the more branded and like kind of higher end, and these. So, but I remember you'd be like, "What's the new ride there?" It's such a big deal looking back.
But when I look at it now, I'm just like, wow. $30 to go to the water park isn't that bad.
But hey, that's quintessential Wisconsin or Midwest. I mean, there's probably
getting a deal, finding coupons. Right? That's what it's all about. Right? Who can we get in for free? How many kids can we sneak in? All that good stuff.
Yeah, I remember,
can we bring snacks?
And piling kids into the actual hotel rooms. I don't know if people are sleeping on the floors. I do remember though going there one time, and to your point, like not always getting the nicest motels or hotels, but one time I was there and we were in a pretty dated one, and my mom she told my dad, we can't do it.
She couldn't handle it.
No, it was like,
if mom's not happy, we're getting out.
Too many levels too. Like at that point, there must have been the line that got crossed. It was I don't know.
That's hilarious.
I just remember that.
Of course.
But anyway,
there's like dinosaurs and stuff outside to sit on. It's just
everything was like different. Everything was kind of like very somewhat touristy, right? But
of course,
but very cool place.
Yeah.
So. Well, so that's definitely a good Midwest memory as a kid. How about when you were growing up? I don't know if you did hunting or fishing, or maybe you just were cooking. I don't know. Based on the skills you have now.
Rana, I am not a hunter. I am not against it. I've just never, like a lot of my cousins, my family living out, in Heartland or Pewaukee, whatever. They're big hunters. They like guns, all that stuff. I'm not against it. I've just never had that opportunity to really go. For fishing, my dad liked to fish a lot. And my one story about that, or my one takeaway now that I am adult, is he would take me and my brother. I think we go to like Whitnall Park, or we go to like around there where you could fish, or we go to different places, And he always told us like, hey, you can't be loud or you can't be talking when you're fishing. I think that a lot of people might have heard this before, and because the fish they'll get scared and they'll swim away or whatever. And now I realize it's probably just because he wanted some peace and quiet. He wanted to look at me and my brother and be like, hey, this is quiet. I can go fish. I can still bring my kids, but this is it. But that's one of my fishing memories out in the parks, the county parks, to be able to do that. But fishing with my dad and my brother and that stuff. But hunting just never got into it.
Well, I think there's a lot of people too. I think it's assumed that everybody hunts in whether it's Wisconsin or Minnesota or whatever. But I do think there are folks that don't hunt. You just have family members. I think almost everybody that I run into though has fished some bit. If you live
at some point, yeah.
Because it's just one of those things. It's easy to do, easy to get to, and I do think that, like to your point, like your dad probably, it's kind of like a peaceful activity, right? And you can,
of course,
and it's a way you can like convince your kids that they have to be quiet.
Not too expensive either. It's like you go to the gas station on the side of the road, grab your styrofoam of worms, get after it, and just make it happen. But you could spend hours and hours out there and have fun. So some of the most chill times ever was definitely fishing. And
I mean, I know now things are a little bit different than when we grew up because there's a lot more electronic devices. But back then, there's not, like nobody's doing anything other than talking or fishing.
Of course,
and that's kind of that's a pretty cool thing. Yeah. I think, and then fishing often leads to those maybe not in your case as much, but some people like to tell stories about fishing that seem to, sometimes there's a kernel of truth.
Yeah, right. Bring up conversations that might not be honest.
I've been a part of it and heard many fishing stories that are pretty amazing. So, and I don't know if you know Ed the Diver at all.
No.
So Ed the Diver also has been to some of these places, and I grew up in areas where there'd be a dam, and so he told me this is a common legend in Wisconsin is that by the dam there's man-sized catfish, and so you always hear these stories. And I was asking dude, you're a diver. You are the diver here, right? Have you seen these man-eating, man-sized catfish? I mean, they're bottom feeders, so they're probably going to eat men anyway. But anyway, he's I've never run into them. He said he does run into big sturgeon. He's it's just crazy. They just kind of bump into you.
Oh yeah, they're so big. Or it's crazy what's out there. One of my things I can say that we're on the fish and diving topic is that is one of my one fear where deep water is the unknown is crazy to me.
It is.
That kind of freaks me out. So
yeah, well, I think too, I think that's a pretty common fear. And it takes a while to get used to it. I've gotten much more, but I remember being a kid, I can vividly remember being on a lake and it's all calm and it's a dark lake and I'm on a tube and I'm just thinking how deep and dark this place is. And you
have no idea what's in there. And then kelp hits your toe and you think it's attacking you, but really it's just seaweed or something.
I think most of us have had that notion or that memory as a kid. It's you just feel I'm such a small thing. What is in this lake,
for sure.
Man?
And then you go look at the other side of it when you're on a boat and you're coming back in from a long day of boating or something and the water's just glass.
Yep.
Sun's going down, you're just flying, that's another one of those just feel good feelings where you can just hang out, life is good, nothing to worry about. It's just that's another thing that pops in my head when being in the Midwest or going up north and stuff like that. It's a good classic feeling.
Well, one thing too, I was going to ask you, because obviously not only have you been outside the Midwest, but you've competed against people that are outside the Midwest.
Yeah.
What do you think, and this could be good or bad, but being an expert in cooking and in culinary, expertise, what do you think the Midwest, if you had to describe the Midwest versus other areas, as far as the food?
Our cuisine?
Yeah,
oh man. I always say we could be a little bit more sophisticated here. It's just I would say it's tavern, over the top Americana food.
All right.
You know what
Fair
I'm saying? It's just it's all good. It's all technically done and stuff like that, but it's just Americana food. We have the fish fry here, which is very, very specific, and you can do it a million different ways. Obviously, the cheeseburger from smash burger to regular steakhouse burger. I feel steaks are super popular. Everyone thinks that eating a steak is the monument dish that if you're going out for steak, you must be celebrating or something, steakhouses, supper clubs,
right,
stuff like that. Cheese curds. But I mean, what's more classic than you've probably had this growing up is mashed potatoes, green beans, and then a breaded pork chop or just or pot roast or something like that, where it's it's not very fancy, but it's always good. It fills you up. It's cheap to make. Everyone's happy. No one's no pot roast and mashed potatoes, please. So I just say that our cuisine is really good. And if you start to dig deep, like chef wise,
Yep.
and talk about like freshwater fish or like trout, steelhead trout, and stuff like that, where you can really make beautiful things. And then all of our farms and farmers markets that we have, you can make Midwest food or Wisconsin food or, locally sourced stuff very beautiful and high end.
Yeah.
So it goes other ways. But when you think of it, it's like fish fry, burgers, cheese curds, which is like, it is what we do here, but there's a whole nother world to what we do here. And I wish we would get that stigma a little bit away, like it's a fun joke, like, haha, cheese curds is all that you can get here.
Yep.
But we have some great farmers markets, and local produce and things to make delicious food that you would never think came from, a Wisconsin or Milwaukee chef.
Yeah. And I think like what you're talking about too, I mean, and it's, I guess I'll be proud to say it. When I think of like what I like to eat is like mashed potato, green beans,
Exactly.
And if I'm celebrating, it's a steak, right? Otherwise,
exactly.
But I do think like that's why it's awesome that you're out doing what you are, because you're also showing like, hey, we've got chefs, we've got this culinary expertise in the Midwest. We just got like get past the stereotype. But
sure.
I like how you described it, over the top Americana. That's probably really, that's probably a good way to describe like in general.
I mean, every mac and cheese at restaurants covered with other things, or a burger that has, onion strings, barbecue sauce, obviously bacon on everything. That's a huge thing that we do here, where it's like, they don't care. Like, it takes a lot to really like starstruck someone on the internet that's from the Midwest with like the stunt food or the crazy things, because they're like, oh, I guess that's not bad. I had something like that last night at the dive bar or whatever it is, So it's like, it is hard to really like shock people when it comes to over the top food. But yeah, that's what I think that we're doing.
I think one of the cool things though that I like I said, green beans, mashed potatoes, steak, whatever. But I've been surprised by going to some, whether it's a dive bar, just kind of hole in the wall restaurant, and getting. And again, maybe my palate's not that advanced, but just getting some absolutely great burgers. Like I've been. I mean, there was a place too that I went.
Or pizza too.
Yeah, pizza as well.
Pizza's good in dive bars and in bars in Wisconsin for sure.
Have you done it? Is there like a meal or something that you cooked that you're like, where you're proud of, like, where you feel? I mean, I know you're proud of probably everything you've done, but like where you took something Midwest and you just created something like awesome with it, or maybe you haven't done that yet. I don't know.
I mean, I really like to make more high-end fish fries. Those are really fun to do, and using maybe a different quality fish, but still doing like your traditional beer batter or something like that. Something maybe like taking a burger and using really great ingredients, or fresh baking the bun, stuff like that. But I really like messing around with different mac and cheese and seeing the combinations. And I don't go too crazy.
Sure.
I keep it kind of honed in, but I feel like having a restaurant that does pasta at Egg and Flour, we do traditional pasta to 8-hour bolognese and pesto and tomato sauce, but we're a pasta bar, we're not an Italian restaurant. So we have crazy mac and cheeses and crazy sandwiches and stuff like that. A funny one, we do like if you've heard of like the chopped sandwich, where like you take everything, put on a cutting board, just chop it up, and then just slather it on the bread. I've done a Midwest version of that where it's like cheddar cheese and like the classic summer sausage and ham and stuff like that, and just chopping it all up and throwing it on there. Obviously, a bunch of mayo and mustard and stuff like that. I mean, we didn't even get into brats yet.
Oh,
that's the big one.
Man.
I mean, brats is the huge Midwest thing, and what makes people happy. And if there's an aluminum pan sitting out with some charred brats, you're gonna have a good day.
I think that it's cool. And I don't know if I should ask this question or not, but I'm just gonna ask it. Like, what because you're an expert, you know what you're doing. If you had to give like a word of wisdom to a dive bar or a restaurant on it, like what can you do first thing to make a great burger? Like, and I mean, I know a lot goes into it, but what would you say? Sure. Like, this is what you got to watch for.
So this is what you got. It's always the most important thing is the beef. Okay. So whether it's a smash burger, if it's, the steakhouse burger where it's a little bit thicker and you're putting a lot of stuff on it, always start with really high quality beef and make sure that it doesn't come in frozen.
Okay.
So comes in fresh. You can keep it fresh. You don't have to open out of the packs right away or do whatever you got to do. But really good beef is good, and make sure that it's seasoned really well. So whatever your secret spice blend is, or just salt and pepper, whatever, just make sure that that's a good start. I think that's important. And then everyone looks for a great bun, I think, So not drying out the bun or letting it get stale. Maybe a lot of people are obviously fans of toasting the bun just so it can hold up a little bit better, but there's different routes depending on what you're doing. Everyone likes, like the potato roll if it's a smash burger because it's kind of that crispy burger and the soft bun, to a nice toasted sesame seed bun if it's a little bit bigger or whatever. But I think bread and burger, the beef is very important. And then the ratio from beef to bun is very important too. You don't want too much bun. You don't want a lot of beef and the bun's falling apart. I think we've all been there where you're eating a burger and by the end of it, it's a patty and you got like this much bun left and it's just hanging on for dear life. And that's what we don't want. We want to get away from that. But the ratio of that, and for dive bars, it's just about making food that's higher quality than what people expect and making sure that it's hot, and coming out on time and everything's clean. Everyone associates dive bars with being dirty, but I think you can have a dive bar and still, hold cleanliness standards and safe kitchen standards.
Well, it sounds like, making sure the bun's right and then getting that fresh, not frozen beef. And those are some key points. So the dive bars out there, they probably already know this and they're like, that's basic, but good pointers for them. I think that's another thing too, you hit on too, is like, what would you say, what's a good pointers for like making a good pizza? I mean, I personally also like now how they're doing like the fire, the brick oven stuff, whatever, but like what, to make
for dive bar
elevate
pizza,
your pizza experience.
For dive bars.
For dive bars, yep.
So for dive bars, I know that there's some success out there of like outsourcing your pizza, and letting the really professionals do it, and then bringing it in and just serving it there, which can really elevate your experience being there. And it's just good to be surprised when you're at a dive bar and you're just hanging out watching a game and you end up ordering the pizza that's, probably not that expensive and it comes out and it's great. So with that being said, either outsourcing it or making stuff fresh, or using just good ingredients no matter. That's what I say. Just use the good ingredients and make the prices what they have to be for when the pizza comes, they're not going to be mad. They're not thinking about the price when it's actually good.
Yeah.
Or you can go the other route, just rip some frozen pizzas and call it a day, charge it for $6, and hey, everyone's happy too. But if we're trying to make a point here, and try to have some advice for that, it's just like always good ingredients and making it fresh. Or like I said, kind of outsourcing it to maybe another local company or something and just get it from them, and then you're just, heating it up good.
When I was a kid too, we used to get pizza fries a lot at the bars. They were just the frozen ones. So back in the day, I think pizza, even like for bars, dive bars, has elevated in general. But I think of whether it was like the Peps or Tube Stones or whatever, and they just throw it in, and that was your pizza. And,
exactly.
In
the little toaster oven, you just slide the door out, or maybe buying frozen pizzas and upping them a little bit, like throwing some stuff on them extra.
That's a good way to do it. A good cheat code,
of course,
man.
It's a good base. I think we've all done that before. People think they're chefs when they have their Jack's Pizza and they put a little lemon pepper on it when it comes out. Or so, that's very, very upgrade for them. But one of the things that I did that we were talking about with like a Midwest thing that's fun is doing a pizza roll nachos.
Oh.
So you make pizza rolls, and then you can do like nacho cheese or tomato sauce with like crispy pepperoni and different like toppings like that. Try that.
I have never had that. That sounds awesome.
That might be like, a little bit of helping me think about those things. But that might not be a sober meal, but
it sounds
try the pizza roll nachos. You heard it here first.
Right here. Have you been, and it's hard because I know you've been in these competitive chef moments and you've been thinking about and tasting food and good food since you've been young, but have you ever been to like a dive bar and just been like maybe not even wow, but just surprised on something? You're like, dude, I can't believe they're doing that or this, like, and I'm not saying a bad way, but like in some way that you're just like,
yeah,
wow.
I mean, one of my favorite experiences is a place called The Bubbler. It's right on Oklahoma and Bayview, and they actually have like a micro pizza restaurant in the back called Vinci's, and I believe there's like special hours or operations or whatever, but they have amazing pizza and they're doing everything there. And I think they have a smaller menu with other items as well, but you go for the pizza and that was very surprising, and it was very tasty, and you could tell that it was fresh, and someone's back there making it on like the stone ovens, like the old school, Blodgett ovens, just the massive ones. So that's one that comes to mind definitely.
Yeah, very cool.
I like to go to those types of places that aren't trying to be a dive bar. They just are.
Yeah.
Compared to someone that opens a brand new place and the aesthetic is like high-end dive bar where they're just putting stuff on. Yeah, exactly. You gotta earn it. You can't buy it. You gotta earn the dive bar labeling to it. So that kind of stuff is good. Yeah.
I mean, obviously you've been in the food service industry, which is a wild industry because you guys like work often, long shifts, not a lot of time for breaks, working late. I worked in the food service industry a little, not to your extent at all, but I started out at a dairy and deli, made pizzas, did chicken, all this stuff. And then I washed dishes, I waited tables, I did all kinds of stuff.
So fun, right? Don't you miss it? Don't you want to go back?
I don't know when I go back, but I feel like you learn a lot, and it's a different atmosphere. Like I think I tell people this, like if you can get in the service industry when you're younger, I mean, and then if you want to stay in it, that's great
everyone needs to.
Because you learn how to deal with things that often are out of your control. And also sometimes you have folks that are just not, their expectations can't be met, but you have to deal the balance of stuff. You're also often not making a lot of money, and you still have that responsibility to make the restaurant look good and do all these things.
Yeah.
And I think
learn a lot.
You learn more.
You learn so much, and you're dealing with people, and you're dealing with working with people very closely, and that it's more of a team thing than anything. It's a successful restaurant. Everyone has to be on. You know, you can't it doesn't come together with one person. So I always say, if you have a young kid out there, whoever's watching, make them their job. Whether they love sports or they have a love for something else, throw them into a Jimmy John's or a McDonald's or something, just for a year or something. Just like really hammer it to them.
I wouldn't trade mine. There were some times too where it's like, oh wow, this whatever. Especially washing dishes like nonstop.
It's hardcore.
But what the thing is, like, I wouldn't trade it now. I mean, I just learned so much from it, and then also met a lot of cool people. But that's what I'm going to ask you too. I mean, I'm sure you have a whole bunch, but anything you want to share, like stories, like a good, entertaining story, like you experienced at some point in the service industry. Just because I know, like myself, had experienced a lot of fun and interesting things.
I've had some fun things, something that comes to mind, I would say is, this happens at a lot of jobs. People will probably realize it, but in the service industry, especially, is being at this job, right? And I was there for about a year and a half, 2 years. So like know the lay of the land, and a new person comes in, and the first day they want to tell you where they've worked, how good they are, the skills, all that. I was working at this very busy high-end, like farm-to-table restaurant in the Midwest here, and this guy comes in and wants to tell you about his expensive knives, and he's wearing a chef jacket, and everything's all good. And I said, that's all great, but we have a lot of prep to get to, and we have a lot of stuff to do, and we're going to be busy tonight. He goes, yeah, I'm used to all that. And that first night or that second night throughout that week that he was there, he only lasted 1 week, and a busy night on the line compared to wherever he was from or whatever he was used to was honestly, it sucked at the time because I was right there with him, and we're a team. We were just talking about that, but now I look back, it's pretty funny to see that guy fall and fail after all the smack talk and all that, being in a kitchen, because it's like that's the most humbling place is on the line on a busy night where you're just grinding and you have to make something happen. And now that I look at it, screw that guy.
Well, it's funny though, because in the industry, it's like you can talk the talk, but you're going to be you're going to have to walk the walk real quick, and it becomes it's very. There's not a lot of time for you to, just BS people, because there's away.
There's nowhere to hide.
Yeah. And I when I worked in the service industry, I did see people come and go, because it's like, oh, I don't want to work this job. And then they find out how busy and tough it is and the things you got to deal with. The only thing I would say too is, like, it's funny when you're on the wait staff end, and then when you have good line cooks and good cooks, they make your life great. But when it goes the opposite way, because you take the beating. Like I had taken so many beatings.
I've never worked front of house because I wouldn't want to deal with that, because I'm not coming up with excuses why the chili cheese fries is taking a half hour.
Right? Yeah, and
I am not into that.
Back then, I think like the I can't remember, minimum wage was a couple bucks, so you really lived on tips. And if they're not happy with the food or the wait time, you're getting no tip.
Yeah, you're getting nothing.
But when the cooks were on, you were at a place where you had good cooks, your life was just great because they're just like, this food is excellent.
It's coming out fast. It's beautiful food, and that's the thing with the team. It's like everyone's helping each other, and like, you don't go to every single restaurant and the line cooks are back there just killing it all the time. Yep. Well, it's not a thing. It's like any job, there's always some people that are just not into it. That's their job, but they're not the best at it.
I was at one restaurant. I'm not going to name any names, any restaurant, but I will say some of the line cooks like to engage in some recreation activities when they could, which is fine, except some of them were better at handling that than others, and it slowed down the line to almost to no movement.
Or they're just gone in the back alley.
Yeah. So I remember that. Just like coming back looking for into that extent.
It's a hardcore industry, and like I know the stigma is everyone thinks that every chef is like putting back bourbon and smoking cigarettes and weed and just getting messed up every night and going to the bar and all that, but I've tried to be on the other end of that, to be like, that's old school, that has happened. That's very popular back, but I feel like we're starting to have more people that are, it's their profession. Just like if a doctor's going to go in and they're very clean and organized and respectful of the food and the product and whatever. And, it's a lot different. I don't need any substance to get me through a long shift in a kitchen or in a restaurant like maybe some people have.
Well, and it's like any profession, you're going to have, you've got good apples and bad apples. I think that one of the things is like which is cool, and I think part of it too, like creating there's like some celebrity chefs and things like yourself, and I think it gets people to aspire to like, this is a professional job, because it is, and it's super important, because like a good restaurant can do very well, but it's like at the end of the day, people are there choosing that restaurant to eat and like assuming that they're going to get this professionalism, and then when it all clicks, it's like awesome, right?
I mean, going to a restaurant, you got to remember how many lives it's really affecting. Where from the hostess or the host to bartenders to bar backs to food runners to the servers to the cooks, the dishwashers, to the high end where it's the chef, it's the general manager, it's the sommelier doing the wine and all that. So it's like, there's so many moving parts, but when it does click, you can kind of just feel that when you're in a restaurant, when you have good vibes and the food's coming out, the drinks are good, everything. It's just, that's something that's super special. If you think about the restaurants and the chef and owners that really care, it is like welcoming someone into your home, and if you can have that feeling and you go into a restaurant and you feel comfortable and you're having a great time, that just is a proven culture of that restaurant that like everyone wants the same end goal.
And I think too, like to your point, I feel like when I'm obviously not working in the restaurant service industry anymore, but when I'm at like a guest there eating, you can feel that vibe and that food. And when everything's clicking, you're like, it's just the experience is awesome. Great food, great atmosphere. And I think to yourself, like someone who's really, working hard to like master your craft, always get better at your craft, right? Like when there's, to the extent, like in any profession, the people that do that make it so much better. But the cool thing is in what you're doing is that we get to enjoy like this masterpiece of not only food but atmosphere, and it's just like it's an experience. Not quite going to the Dells, but like going out for an hour, going out for an hour or two, and having an awesome meal, good drinks, just great
good
vibe.
Conversation. It might end up to wanting to extend your night or something like that. And you got to remember how many people do you hear talk about a dinner or a place that they went out, or last week I went here, or last night I went here, and it just extends into more stories or more ideas and stuff like that, or inspire people to do that. And I'm glad our food scene here in Milwaukee and in the Midwest, Minnesota is huge. Their food scene's blowing up, and obviously Chicago is a contender for some of the best food in the world. And we're trying to come there with Milwaukee and bring up the rear there. But our food scene has been incredible and been growing, and that's what's been exciting for me to see that and work in different restaurants throughout the career. And now I am where I am, and I still love to go out to eat and support and see all the new places, and I'm all about it.
That's cool. You're checking out other things too and supporting other chefs.
Always.
So I got to ask you too, because obviously you've been with some celebrity chefs. Any crazy stories or wild stories that you have? I mean, certainly I would say some large personalities that
Sure.
you've worked with.
I mean, I guess my largest one is Gordon Ramsay.
Yep.
We know that, Hell's Kitchen. And probably like the craziest ever was a scene that was in it was in one of the episodes for the season at Made TV, but being in a kitchen in one of the challenges, and the chef, the girl was across from me, and I told her to cook the salmon more, and she didn't, and I got yelled at by her. She was yelling at me like, hey, don't tell me what to do, I'm a chef or whatever. And 5 minutes later, here comes Gordon Ramsay with the piece of salmon. It's on the cutting board, hand down, salmon disappears. And we were finding salmon in that kitchen and probably in our shirts and our hair and all that for days after. That was probably the craziest, that I've experienced being in a kitchen setting and having Gordon Ramsay. It's fun watching it for all the years because I watched every episode. It's like, wow, that's funny. But I had to control myself from just breaking out laughing. I know it was a very serious time and moment for the other chefs, but I had to hold back laughing from that. But I don't have too many crazy stories of like being at a job or something like that, or the celebrity chefs, but getting yelled at by Gordon Ramsay is almost comical.
Well, it's funny just because most of us have seen Gordon Ramsay on TV, and then you're actually, so you, like you said, you had watched it, but then your firsthand experience of probably thinking like, is this actually happening?
Of course,
right now?
this is it. I'm here. Like I waited my whole life to have Gordon Ramsay yell at me. This isn't even like bad. This is more fun than anything, but that's my big story from that, and the one that I remember a lot. One time I was out, and this guy, when he found out that he wasn't part of my group, or I found out that I was a chef, I wanted to talk about that or whatever, and we got into the debate about pizza, and it was so funny how serious and how sad this guy was when he was like trying to convince me, like, yeah, deep dish is the best, and he was just like on this deep dish like craze, and I had to tell him that like, that is not the best. That is just in the okay meter. And this guy, I swear, like I like ruined his whole life and like his whole night, and he was very sad about it. And I'm getting borderline angry at me for talking about deep dish pizza. And I don't hate it. I think it's just fine. It's okay. It's whatever.
And do you remember? I mean, what were his points that deep dish is just so great? Is it just because we do it in Chicago?
Well, yeah, it's a Chicago thing. It's a staple. He probably had some memories about getting deep dish with his dad or something, but it's just like, those things don't make something the best, or those things don't make someone else's best list, and food is so subjective, and it's so funny when I see all these influencers online and TikTokers and stuff talk about like, come with me to eat the best burger in Milwaukee or something. It's like, just shut up, please. Like please just stop, because your best might not be someone else's best. And it just turns into, like, my palate's better than yours. And most of the time, these people are just going out to eat, and they're making a living by going out to eat and tell people where to go eat. Right. It's very subjective. So follow who you want. I always say follow who you want and trust who you want. But in the end, just go and eat places and spend your money and go support yourself. And you go and tell people what you thought was the best.
Well, I can tell you, I think one of the things too is like you go out and try it. But I myself was on a trip. And I'm not going to name the restaurant and place, but basically there was someone on a TV. It was actually one of those TV shows. And it was like, these are like the best places to go. And I was like, went through this place that had burgers and fries. And I think like, Midwest, we do pretty good. Like we're talking about dive bars, really great burgers. So I swung into this place and I'm like, oh, hey, let's just try it. Like, why not? And it was like
horrible.
Dude, it was like old McDonald's, like like McDonald's that had been sitting for a while.
Yeah.
And I'm like, who would tell people to go here?
Sure.
But so after that, I was like, I've never listened to that guy again. But I think to your point, maybe it was off night. It was kind of a bigger type restaurant too. So I don't know if it was just that maybe they had kind of worked them like, hey, we're
a deal or something like that. Yeah. I mean, the one thing I will say is just sparked what, like in my head, it sparked this when you were talking about that. But for people to understand that, like going to restaurants, especially like local small business or whatever, give them more than one chance. So if you go in and you have a bad experience, talk to someone. If they handle it the right way, if they want you to, talk to them and they'll help or they'll reimburse or try to make it right, do that first instead of going online and making bad reviews or telling all your friends like, hey, don't go there. It's like, how many times have we gone to restaurants that we had a bad experience and we're back there,
right?
AKA fast food restaurants or things like that, and I get it. People spend hard-earned money on food, or there's a fancy restaurant, or it's expensive or whatever it is, but definitely in the local, just try to fix the issue right then and there, instead of bad reviews. This is my advice for people that like to go out that aren't in the industry, because they don't think about this. And maybe there is a bad night, or maybe there is a cook that has been going through something, or maybe your server has something on their mind, or you just never know. It's kind of that, like, you never know what someone's going through type of deal. And maybe after the second time or third time, maybe if you have a really bad experience the second time, or the first time and the second and the third, okay, I get it. Whatever, do what you want to do, but give it another shot and give it another try. That's just my advice for people that are out, especially with this world and how influencers and TikTokers and food reviewers and stuff are. They don't hold back, and they don't realize what that really is doing. They can influence in a very good way, and they can influence in a very bad way as well.
Well, like the place I went to is this really large business, whatever, in the South, and it was like, who knows? Like I said, there may have been some kind of back end kind of promotional deal, but I do think, like, people don't always realize, for small businesses, Google reviews can kind of make and break them. And to your point, like, sometimes you got to give them more than one chance, because everybody's a bad night. And things can happen, but like, one thing too, like, I found
no one's waking up and owns a restaurant and goes, how can we piss off as many people, or how can we serve the worst food today? No one is thinking that.
Well, and I think too, like you said, just to the big point is just going out to and trying it yourself, and maybe being fair about giving it another shot, and just like doing it. Because I think too, as we know in the world of influencers, sometimes they're being influenced one way or another to let you, to influence you, right?
Of course, or they're getting paid by the
that's what I was getting at. A nice way to say it.
Yeah. But, well, the thing is, I like being a chef and whatever, and people coming in the town, or people go like, "How is this place? What do you think of this place?" And I just say, I give them my answer, and I always end the answer with, "But even if I have a bad experience, I go, but you should just go." Like, yeah, how much of me saying my experience is really good or really bad or whatever? Just go. Yeah, try it yourself, experience it. I don't hate on people for loving a certain place that I might not like to go. I always say I don't care, but you have to give everyone a fair shot, and you should never cross something off the list because one of your friends or someone said that it wasn't good. You still got to go and check it out.
Well, and so this brings up a good point then. Because I feel like, and it could be me because it's the way I was raised, but like, I have more of, and I'm getting better at it, having traveled, and then also people like yourself that have done really good jobs with certain cuisine and like kind of opening up, like, I'm going to try that. Because I'm not, what would you say for like the Midwest palate person? Like, what's something they should go out on a limb and try? Like something that, we're talking about usually like the meat, potatoes, green beans. What is something that you think this, if you're that kind of eater, try it, you should give this a shot?
I think different, like, international cuisine. Okay. So Indian food, or venturing out to the more maybe Mexican food, or like I said, the Indian food, or trying something that you've never had, whether it's like sushi or something. That's probably the highest you can go from coming from the Midwest to burgers and fries to have a piece of raw fish sitting there. Yeah. It's all about texture usually for most people that are trying new things. It's texture and flavors and stuff like that, but try to slowly get to it. So, I'm trying to kind of think of like a bridge between a cheeseburger and sushi,
there's a big difference.
So maybe like, the fried tempura, sushi that's in rice, or soft shell crab is very popular, going that way. And then maybe taking a bite of something, or tuna tartare or steak tartare at a restaurant, stuff like that or whatever. But I always say, you like what you like. I know people that eat the same food all the time. I know people that they only eat fast food. Or if they go to a restaurant, they're always ordering the same thing. And it's just like, venture out if you want. If someone is very specific to what they like to eat, it is what it is.
But it sounds like you can at least try to work your way. If you want to try to get to that.
Always, yeah. And I mean, and if you're someone that's super open and optimistic about it, then you're just getting to the point where you're researching different ingredients, and maybe just go buy that and go cook it yourself and cook it how you like it. Maybe you've never had tuna before, and most people cook tuna medium rare and slice it and they eat it, that mid rare where it still looks raw or whatever. Maybe you're going to try tuna like that, but you're going to cook it to medium well, and then you'll maybe go to medium and then do that. I always say that with steak eaters too. Midwest,
yep,
they might like a well done and mid-well and stuff like that. But I feel like Midwest is either one way or the other. They're like, they want it purple and red,
yep,
or they want it like completely cooked all the way. So maybe just venturing out and trying things. And it's our job as chefs and it's our job as restaurant owners to give new experiences and to convince people and maybe give suggestions for people to try new things as well. It's very important. If you have something on your menu and it's not selling a lot, maybe educate more or push that, or, like get some more different food out there. But I always tell people, try different cuisines, study different ingredients. That's a huge thing. You can easily go on Google and check out what's seasonal and maybe new fun ingredients to swap out the normal, maybe mashed potatoes and green beans for something else, for different squash, or maybe a different bitter green or something that maybe you haven't had before. But there's so many different ways. We could talk about this for hours.
It sounds like, well, so that I think I'll end on this, because let's say there's this guy or gal out there and they're like the young version of you, right? And they're interested in food. What would your advice be to them to start to learn more about, how to make potentially game-changing Midwest dishes, or what?
Sure. For me, so like if you want to get into this industry and you want to be a chef or you want to have a restaurant one day, it's just like start at the lowest you can, whether it's dishwashing, line cooking, all that, or serving, or bar backing, or bussing tables, whatever, and really getting that good foundation and building from that. So I always say, cook food that you love to eat, cook food that you're inspired and excited to be at. Go to a restaurant that cooks that type of food. And then like I said early in the show, where it's like, it's either have a wide range and try to learn as much as you can from all different stuff, or really hone into something that you love and you want to be the best and perfect it. Whether it's, I want to be the best burger maker, the best pizza maker. I want to have the best grilled cheese anyone can get. There's two different ways to kind of go that route. I would say it is tough to be really good at everything. I think we know that in general, just in life. So kind of hone in on what you like, and you got to cook food and you got to eat food that you genuinely do like, and that maybe brings up a memory or whatever it is. I mean, that's why I have Egg and Flour, my restaurant, the pasta spot. It's like, yeah, we have fun and we cook different food, but when it comes down to it, I love pasta. I love Italian food. The roots and the foundation of that fast casual restaurant, it's still very technical, and we try to treat it like a nice fine dining restaurant, whether it's our culture of our staff, our hospitality and our service when people come in, and still cooking food from scratch. I mean, we make all of our pasta there. We don't buy anything. We support local with ingredients and stuff like that. And we're still making all the sauces, the pestos, all the garnishes, stuff like that. So stay true to that. And like I said, you got to love it. If you love it, it'll be 10 times better.
Sounds like cook what you love, right?
That's cook what you love, eat what you love.
All right, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Yeah. Appreciate the Midwest Legend title.
Right here.
I'm all for it.
So we're closing out. We got Chef Adam, Midwest Legend here. We appreciate him being on. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Hey, wait, don't head out just yet. Do you have a story that is so Midwest it couldn't have happened anywhere else? Or do you know a Midwest legend in your own life? Give me a call at 866-MWLEGND. Your story may be featured on our future episode or on our socials. Looking forward to hearing your Midwest legend.